says we're live stream. Let me pull up my account here and get in the chat. See if people can hear accurately. Your lighting and sound was great. So don't change a thing on your end, Agnes. Cool. There we are. Hello, everyone. Just confirming you can hear me. Question mark. All right. And we won't delay since I know you have a hard stop. We are going to get right on into this introduction. So thank you everybody for joining. My name is Kay Moon and I'm a Western astrologer and your host of the Creator Conference this week. And I am extremely excited to be presenting the Friday lineup with you. Our second guest interview for today is Agnes Vivarelli. She's a bit of a legend in the specific person manifestation community, and it is so much fun to be able to chat with her because Agnes, I didn't know who Agnes was, never really heard of her, but she came to my attention at a point in time where I was going through something with someone. I was like, I don't really understand what's happening. And 3 different people who weren't talking to one another all said to me, you need to do an Agnes Vivarelli meditation. They work. It's like, who's this Agnes Vivarelli? And they all thought, I should just know who she was. It was just a presumed understanding. That, well, of course, everyone does Agnes. I thought you knew. And so let me tell you guys, I went and she had a very specific meditation called the whisper technique. If you've not heard of it, you can go check it out. She and I are probably going to talk about it today. And it's a kind of meditation that you go into that allows you to either manifest a phone call or a specific conversation, or even to hear specific words from a person. All I wanted was, quote unquote, the truth. So I'm doing this little manifestation, and I'm saying, in the meditation, I do it 3-4 days. Within a week, I'm saying, so-and-so tells me the truth. Listen, y'all, I got the truth, and the truth was a truth I did not want to hear. Agnes's work is the real deal. She's the author of 4 Law of Attraction and Law of Assumption success storybooks. So she's not just giving you technique. She is going to tell you what worked, literally, because she saw it play out. She's a YouTuber, she's a life coach, and she coaches people from all walks of life around the world using the teachings of Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Shinn, Love Flosco, and others. Her focus is to give relief to individuals that have been struggling in romantic relationships, specific person relationships, and to help people transition to more meaningful work and to increase their income or overcome health conditions. She lives in London now with her partner and in Sydney, Australia. She splits her time. Don't you love that? That she's bi-located. We love that. We love a globe-trotting woman. Thank you so much for being with us, Agnes.
Thank you for having me.
It's a treat to have you guys here. Everyone who's joining, welcome. Please hit the like button. Our lovely moderator, Kylie, has linked where you can find Agnes. I have pinned it to the top of the chat. And if you're listening to the recording of this, you will find it in the description box. Now, Agnes, you have written a lot of books. You've created the meditations. You've worked with people all over the world who want to manifest love, whether it's with just anyone generally or someone specific. I'm sure you have seen that there's commonalities that in order to make the manifestation happen, there's a foundation people have to have. I'm curious about that foundation. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes, the foundation needs to be that you work on your self-love, because if there is an absence of self-love, the relationship will reflect that back to you. How? You will experience anxiety, fear of abandonment, anger, I'm not getting enough, I want more, all these sorts of things that we experience in relationships. If your self-love is not good and it isn't something you work on a regular basis, you will struggle in relationships, and especially in a specific person relationship, because they are one of the greatest teachers of all time for you, because you get so attracted to them, you get pulled towards them because of all your childhood stuff, and they will often be a dovetail match to what you've got going on. So if you had abandonment in your childhood, you will pick someone that brings up your abandonment. They will ghost you, or they will blow hot and cold. So they will hit you in those old wounds. So it sounds like it's not a great thing, but if you can work through these things, build up your self-love through self-love meditations, self-love affirmations, such as, I am love, I am secure, I am good enough, I am deserving, I'm worthy, I'm important, I matter, I'm a priority. These types of affirmations are to build you from the inside out. So therefore, you, over time, as you practice this, stop looking for love in them to come to you, because that's very draining for people, and eventually the neediness repels. So you're looking to really transform yourself, to mature, and to get out of the child-parent dynamic that so many relationships are in, especially the SP relationship, and that you mature, spiritually mature, and you relationship mature, in that you stop trying to get love from the other person and you develop love within you and you overflow that to the relationship. So instead of trying to get love, you learn to give love, and then you're fertilizing the relationship in a really good way. So there's a lot of SP information out there, way more than when I was manifesting my specific person, and we've been together for just over 10 years now. There is a lot of stuff out there. Sadly, in my experience, through my clients telling me, because I don't actually go and watch those types of YouTubes myself anymore, there is something that you should really be aware of. If you're going to listen to anyone, whether it's a family member, whether it's a coach, whether it's a YouTuber or anybody, find out if they themselves have manifested a specific person and if they are still maintaining it. Because unless someone is doing that, in my opinion, you're not going to get very good advice, because that person is not experiencing or learning themselves and maintaining and knowing what to do mentally, emotionally, and in their belief system. So the first thing I would suggest is be mindful of who you listen to. Secondly, you can have a great relationship with a specific person, because if you look at them as one of your greatest teachers of all time and you unearth all these things about you, the not feeling secure, the inadequacies, the not feeling good enough, the constantly seeking external love rather than having enough love within you, all these things, you will become a lot freer. You will become a lot more comfortable in your life. And you will also really understand what love is all about, because your SP teaches you to love unconditionally. This is what the SP lesson is, in my opinion, is to become someone who transforms from a taker of love to a giver of love.
All right, Guru Agnes, thank you. I think that is exactly what we needed to hear today, because you have just broken down what sounds like entire book chapters in a few sound bites for us to help us really understand that the process of being in love in that capacity is what really matures the heart. It's what matures the spirit. And is if you keep following the path and not giving up, ultimately you do come into that level of self-love that is, it's irrevocable. It can't be taken from you. It can only be matched vibrationally.
That's it.
Amazing. Agnes, I'm really curious about 2 or 3 blocks that people often overlook when attempting to manifest a specific person that really keep people stuck, spinning in the same loops, and even giving up.
Are you asking me, or are you,
Yes, I'm asking you.
what are
The
the
most
three
common
things?
blocks, yeah, that you see.
I think it's using law of attraction and techniques to get. It's like it's law of attraction, attracting. It's not law of getting, law of forcing, law of making it happen. So I hear a lot of dialogue about how can we use law of attraction to get more love? And that whole sentence just reveals you. It's not about getting love at all from the specific person. It's about transforming yourself from the inside, radiating love out, and then the love will come to you. That's the lesson. So this, you got to change your whole mindset of love is out there and I have to get it. I have to find it. No, love is in here and you haven't been good at bringing it out, but your job is to get good at generating love within your own being through meditation, through affirmations, through dealing with pain from childhood where you feel not good enough, inadequate, where you feel any abandonment pain. You've got to allow all that to process itself. What do I mean? Let it out. Cry it out, write it out, punch it out at the gym on a punching bag, scream into a pillow, whatever you have to do. Stuff will start to rise up. So you must clear your body. It's like a suitcase and it's hanging on to a lot of old stuff from childhood. And that's why we look to someone on the outside for love, because that's the child-parent dynamic. As a child, you look to a parent for love. But as you turn 18, 19, 20, 21, you're technically mature and maturing, but there is a lot of childlike behaviors still at that time. So the lesson is to learn to look at what you're getting from a relationship and go, okay, I'm going to have some humility and not go, they didn't, they aren't, why don't they don't call me, they don't text me quick enough, why do they leave me hanging, why do they, you stop saying why do they, and you ask yourself one question. If that's in front of me, that absence of someone, or them being nasty to me, or them blowing hot and cold, what have I got within me that I need to dissolve, correct, change my beliefs about so that that doesn't show up anymore? The work is us. We are the projector, and the relationship with a specific person is the projector screen. So whatever you got going on in you gets projected out, and the relationship will tell you how well you're doing. So when things don't go well with a specific person, you've got to say, okay, I'm not in a state of love. I'm not generating it enough. I'm not holding it enough. My gaze has now gone on to them and what they aren't doing, and what they should be doing more, and they need to, and I deserve more, and I'm wanting more, and I want, and I'm not getting enough. All of that tells you you're still in a childlike state. So it's a process of seeing that in yourself, having the humility to say, you know what, they weren't put on the planet just to meet my love needs, as hard as that is. I'm going to learn to generate that. There's a great meditation by Catherine Ponder. It's in her book, The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. I've recorded it on my YouTube channel if you don't want to read the book, but it's about learning to generate love from within and radiate it out. And once you get good at that, Neville talks about changing states. You're going from an unloved state, the old man, into a loved state. Once you get that, the law of vibration takes that forward, the law of projection takes that forward, photocopies it, and brings you back the evidence. So that's the work that needs to be done. So that would be the other thing that you asked me about. What do I hear a lot of? And I also think the specific person subject is such a bit of an atomic bomb subject in the law of attraction circles. if you follow Florence, she's not into specific people. She's into you pray for the divine design and the perfect partner. Neville manifested his specific wife. You can follow either way. There's neither right or wrong. There's just different ways. But whichever way you go, you still take you with you. So the you that you take with you needs to have, let's say, some humility. You need to give up your addictive habits, as in any you owe me, entitlement, being demanding, being jealous, being insecure, being in that state of feeling not good enough, and then, making it the other person's problem. These are all the things that manifest a specific person. This is all the stuff that comes up. So it's saying to the self, you know what? I'm going to stop blaming the outside, and I'm going to look at me, and I'm going to say to myself, I'm not good at getting into a state of love. That's really the bottom line. So I'm going to work at that, and I'm going to get better at that. And I'm going to become someone who knows how to generate love, and that I am an asset to a relationship with a specific person, because I'm coming from a giving place. I've cleared a lot of my childhood, not perfectly, because more stuff will come up just through life, but I'm going to get better at radiating it out. I'm going to sit in meditation, ask source, God, infinite intelligence, universe, whatever word you prefer, for assistance to learn to do that and to be good at it, so that when I'm around my specific person, they're not going to feel that draining energy that they feel when I'm needy. They're going to feel this upliftment, because I'm bringing towards him or her, whatever gender you prefer to date, the best of me, which is, I don't need you to make me feel loved. I'm going to do that for myself. So that's what I see a lot of. Okay. That's what I see a lot of.
That is really rich. Thank you. There was so much. You really detailed in short bullet points the places of accountability that we have to be able to pick up. And even, here's the thing. It's not a one-time picking up. It's an ongoing, I have to continuously be the source of love in my life. I have to continuously not look to you. Even when you're standing right next to me, I still got to look at me. How am I loving me?
Yeah. And you get better at it, but you're only as good as today. I mean, you have days where you fall off the wagon, when it's that time of the month, when you've overworked this week, when your neighbors kept you up all night because they had a party, and you then had to get up and go to work the next day, or you had to go and do something, and you're really short of sleep and you're grumpy. And then it's like, oh, I want someone to look after me. Are you coming over tonight? No, I'm busy. I'm with family. Oh, you never come and look after me when I need it. And then you have those kind of loaded conversations that just end up in a, not where you want it to end up. So it's like, you've got to be mindful, and it's not about perfection, it's about progress, but it's like we cause our own suffering because of the weight we put on the specific person. So you can manifest a specific person quite easily. It's the maintaining the specific person that's the bigger challenge.
Yeah, I find that that's absolutely true. And you're probably the third or fourth person to say that this week, that calling it in is the easy part. It's maintaining the identity that allows the having to be continuous. Because at that point, it's not outside, it's inside of you.
That's it.
So, okay. I want to hear about some success stories. I want to hear about some people who have your favorite ones that you love to be able to, you reflect on, you're like, wow, that is inspiring. You can share your own story or client stories. Give us 2 or 3 success stories.
Well, I'll share mine, because that's obviously one that I'm allowed to share. My specific person was in London. I was in Sydney, Australia. This was about 11 years ago. And we were communicating, and I said to him, I live in Liverpool. And he thought I was in Liverpool, London, because Liverpool's from here, not from Australia. But Australia, the whole of Sydney, the major city of Sydney where I live, it's built by the English who came over. So they named the things all the same places. They put the names the same. So I lived in Liverpool, Sydney. He thought I was from here. We realized we were living in different countries, and we kept communicating. And then finally I was coming overseas, and I said to him, look, I'd love to come and see you. So I came, I saw him for a week. And, we realized that we had a really strong connection, not just, via WhatsApp or whatever. It was more a connection physically as well, in person. And I was working a job at the time, and I remember thinking, how am I ever going to see this person for more than 4 weeks a year? Because Australia gives 4 weeks holidays a year. And so I was in the kitchen one day, and I thought, I'm going to travel to London 4 times fully paid this year. And then I laughed, because I thought, how the heck are you going to do that? You've got a job. You're not allowed to leave more than 1 month. If you leave, you don't get paid. They won't be happy with you. They'll probably fire you. There was a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, I was working as an interior stylist for a big shopping centers, and I was doing all the interior design stuff. So I injured my back, and I'm off work for 3 months. And I said to the insurance company, am I allowed to travel while I'm doing my physio online? Because it was an app. And they said, yes, that's fine, but you must be back here for your doctor's appointments in 3 months. It was like, okay. So I come over. My family's in France. He's in London. We see each other a bit more. Our connection gets closer. I go back to Australia, go to the doctor. And in my job, there was no light duties, which meant I couldn't go back to work, because I'm moving furniture and I'm up and down ladders and I'm up the top of, Christmas trees and all sorts of stuff. So there was no light duties. So I decide after that doctor's appointment, let me go again. So I come back again, we get closer again. And this goes on for the 4 trips over the 4 years, over the 1 year. And I thought, wow, I've done it. Anyway, I was deciding I didn't want to go back to that job, because I thought if I injure myself again after a year off, I'm going to have to start all the way back at the beginning, and I'm not willing to take that risk. So came to London, started looking for work, didn't know what I was going to do. And luckily I was getting paid by the insurance company, because I had income protection insurance, which was wonderful. And I made sure I communicated with them, so I didn't do anything wrong, didn't do anything to upset the terms and conditions. And so we just kept communicating, and everything was working. So I get over to London. We see each other more. The relationship was going pretty good. I'm back in Sydney. And then I was like, okay, how do I move? How do I do all this? How do we get together? And I didn't know what to do. I was at a real standstill in the middle of, I knew what I wanted, but the relationship wasn't stable enough, as in we hadn't known each other in person long enough for me to just jump across to go to London and work there and leave my whole life behind. So I was thinking, okay. And I was at a set of lights. I'll never forget this. I'm in Sydney. I'm driving home. I'm at a set of lights. I'm having a moment of exasperation. I said, give me a clear, obvious, unmistakable sign if I am to go to London or not. Do I pursue this relationship? Do I pursue this whole thing? Like, I don't know what to do. And it was this real red light sitting there, billboard, bus stop. So the bus stop's on my left. It was bumper to bumper traffic. It was 5 o'clock when everybody's going home from work. So it wasn't moving very fast. I look across at the billboard. And no, I'm in Sydney. In Australia, there's nothing to do with London here. I look at the billboard. It's a Kentucky Fried Chicken ad. It says a taste of London with a big Colonel fried chicken bucket thing. A Taste of London. And then the billboard rolls and it says, good to go. And it was another ad. And I remember thinking, wow, it hit me in the chest. It was like this. Okay, so I'm supposed to go to London. The path has just opened up. I got a clear sign. I asked for it and I got an answer 5 minutes later. That's pretty quick. Thank you very much. Oh my God, now what do I do? Booked my ticket. In 2 weeks, I was in London. The relationship was up and down because I was still having moments of neediness, moments of, oh my God, my whole life's changing. Who is this guy? I don't even know him very well. I know him well by communicating online or phone call or Skype or whatever we used in those days. But I don't know him. Like, what are you doing? You know, having those moments where you go, what are you doing? But I was really drawn to him. So I spent the time to get to know him. And I was still ironing out a lot of my neediness, a lot of my, you know, expectations of men, expectations of what relationship should be like, all this stuff. And we had a lot of ups and downs. It was a massive learning curve. And I had to learn to take full responsibility for me feeling loved, because I was in those days putting that onto him, even after 20 years of Neville, even after 20 years of Florence, even after Abraham Hicks going to see her 5 times. All this stuff I knew, but doing it in the relationship is a whole other thing. So we ended up that we spent more time together. I then left my job. I started doing what I'm doing now, which, you know, I've got my own business. And I ended up just kind of jumping and stitching the net on the way down. And I thought, you know what, if it fails, I'll go back to Australia and I will work something out. And I think I was about 46 or something at the time. So I was thinking, what are you doing? And then the other part's going, just keep going, follow the path, follow the path. You know what you want, you know where you want to be, you know who you want to be with, you know, and it just started to blossom. The more I worked on myself, the more I worked on feeling loved, the more I worked on just surrendering and letting go and saying to Source, I put this relationship in your hands. I will sweep my side of the street and do my best, and the rest, you're in charge of packaging and timing. I can't do anything about that. So it was a real lesson in surrender, letting go, trust, faith, which I'll be honest, I didn't have a lot of, because it was like this, you know, mentally and emotionally, it was really tough. It was like the Olympics. But now looking back, I've learned a lot. There's been a lot of stuff to let go of. There's been a lot of trying to understand each other, because everybody's got their childhood that bumps up against the other person's childhood. So, you know, it's working through those things, seeing that they're triggers, seeing that the person's not really doing anything to you, understanding that your stuff is going to get hit and you're going to have to process it. And that still happens. It still happens. Does it happen as often? No. It used to happen about twice a week. Now it might happen once every 5 months. So it's not regular. But it really is the best relationship I've ever had, because, well, firstly, he's the healthiest man I've ever dated. He has no addictions. He's a loving father. He looks after himself extremely well. We have a lot in common in terms of music and dance because of his culture and just the things that I was always drawn to. And we have a lot of laughs and we have a lot of fun. And we're really compatible in a lot of ways. We're different in a lot of ways, but we're extremely compatible in a lot of ways. So the relationship has come together. And, you know, people talk about soulmates, twin flames, and all this stuff. What I think about that today, yes, this guy is my soulmate, but it's not in the way that I thought. I thought my soulmate was going to be that it felt wonderful and it was all beautiful and amazing. My soulmate is there for my soul to evolve. My soul evolves spiritually from the hits that you take emotionally from the other person. So it's got less and less. It's got easier and easier. And it's really been a journey that has been rich and rewarding, and it has taught me deeply about self-love and the importance of it, because the relationship reflects it back to me if I fall off the wagon, or if I, lose the train of thought of, it's so easy to go, oh, well, he's not, and get into dissatisfaction. And that's the energy that just handbrakes everything. So once you realize what you're doing, you go, okay, I've done that again. All right, now I need to get back to having myself in a self-loving state, a surrendered state, a letting go state, get back to peace, stop looking at him, work on you. And then when you reconnect, it just works and it runs smoothly and you have a really good time. So it's not about the relationship being totally perfect. It's about knowing how to maneuver when something hits, and then doing what you have to do to recenter and align yourself. And then the relationship just reflects it back to you. So I'm now here in London, had no intention of living here, had no intention of leaving Australia, met this person, and then life took a left turn because he is my specific person. And a lot of the people that I work with, probably at least 50% or 60% even, the topic is specific person. And it's a big topic because we get very drawn and affected by certain people, by specific people. And you don't know why. There's other people that you don't feel anything for. And yet the packaging might look great, but there is something that pulls us towards certain people. And it's like it's there for you to complete things, unearth things, let go of things, come back to center, come back to neutral. It's like you're shedding what happened to you from 0 to 18, from 18 on. That's when you offload the not so great things that affected your feeling of security, your confidence, your, whatever it is. As a woman, as a man, we all have different things. So your family installs the buttons, and then when you have a specific person, your specific person hits you in those buttons. And you can definitely get to the point where your relationship with your specific person runs more smoothly. It's fun. You feel connected, you feel close, and you feel like this person is home.
Absolutely. I am so grateful that you were able to share that with us. It's interesting as you were talking about the very beginning of the connection. You were telling about how, you would leave from Sydney to go see him. You were looking for the signs to solidify this. You actually were doing, what people would consider, or how they tell the story to me is, I'm doing all the work. I don't know if you maybe hear that sometimes. Like, I don't understand why I have to do all the work. And people I hear a lot, people get stuck at the places that in the early stages, you really kind of just breezed past those parts, at least in the telling of the story now. Like, why wouldn't he come to Sydney? I'm the one who got injured. Shouldn't he come to me? Shouldn't the man be the one that comes to the woman? Well, I'm paying for all of these trips. Shouldn't he be paying for anything? I'm the one who lost her job. And, just minutes before this, you had shared, that it was the things we have to work on are like the entitlement, the neediness, the jealousy, the wanting someone else, the parentification of the other person. Like they should love me in this way that overcomes all odds and all of my insecurities, so that I can then somehow, some way, because they pushed all the buttons in the right sequence on the blue moon day when, the tides were high, feel loved.
Yeah.
Love doesn't work that way.
It doesn't. And in my case, my now partner had a little girl she was 4 or 5. So he's a hands-on dad, like a lot of men of this generation are. And him being able to leave her to go to Australia, which is a 26-hour flight away from London, he just would have got parental anxiety in those days. It just wasn't going to happen. So, and my family was in France. So it was like I was getting away from my work headspace from being over this side, UK, Europe. And I was able to escape my life, which I was trying to make some big decisions about work at that time, not just relationship stuff. So for me, it suited me fine because I was challenging myself to manifest more money, to let go of work, and to hop into the possibilities of a relationship. And really, London is a lot better for work for me because of the time zone than Sydney, Australia. Sydney, Australian time zone is very difficult. When I'm there, you're getting up at 5 a.m. and all that stuff. So being here had so many pluses that I didn't foresee because I was just starting a business then. So now I can see the benefits. But yes, the entitlement, and it's like you can hear a story and you can go, oh, why doesn't he do this? And why didn't he, and I know because a lot of people have said that to me about my story. And then you go, okay, I have no children by choice. I have no animals. And my mum is self-sufficient in Australia. So for me to travel back and forth was a dream of mine, to live between two places. So it was like I was fulfilling my manifestation financially, relationship, travel, and being free, because that was my affirmation. I was saying the most then, I am free. And my freedom escalated. And it was like I had drawn on a piece of white, just an A4 paper. I tried to work out, how do I do this really simply? And I drew an isosceles triangle, which I hadn't used since grade 12, because who uses one of those? And I put Sydney at the top, France in one corner, and London, UK in the bottom corner. And I was trying to work out, how do I show this in an imaginal scene and make it as simple as possible, that I'm spending time with my guy. I can still keep an eye on my mum. I mean, she's not old. She was, in her 60s then. And then be with my family in France, because people were getting older and they were, going to die at some point. And I hadn't seen them for years. So I was thinking, ideally, I'd love to move around this triangle. So I drew a little cartoon plane in different spots, and I stuck that in my room so I could see that there was movement and there was freedom, and there was seeing everybody without visualizing each person at each location, which would have taken me hours. This was a simplistic version of how to imagine something in a simple way. And to this day, I do that triangle pretty regularly. It's a regular thing. So that simple black triangle on a white piece of paper with a little plane and 3 words separating the 3 places, it implied I was with my specific person. It implied I was with my mom, and it implied I was seeing my family. And it was so easy to visualize because of its simplicity. And I think that's a really important thing when you're trying to manifest a specific person, as that's a topic we're talking about today, and manifesting love. Keep your affirmations simple. Don't make them too long. Keep your scripts short and to the point, and keep your visuals tight and clear. And if you can do that, it's like it's more concentrated. And when you do that, I think it manifests in a shorter period of time.
Love that, Agnes. Thank you. Wow. And I mean, I brought up those things not because you had to explain it, but I love that you did explain it. Because these are the very common tripping points that I frequently hear in session with clients. Yes. And, what I love about the way you chose to explain it was that it was an accountability for what it is you wanted, and the fact that all the things were in alignment for you, regardless of what the outer world said should or supposed to, about men, about women, about your circumstance, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes we get all these projections external to us about the way our situation should be unfolding. And even if people aren't projecting it onto us, the culture will. Men should be like this. Women should be like that. And this is the way it should go. And this is how people should treat each other. You're the injured person, so he should be da 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 da.
Yeah.
Like, and
yeah.
for
Yeah.
you, when it sounds like you took the opportunity to get quiet, look for yourself at your life and say, what I want is this.
Yeah. And what you
tune
brought
out the
up,
noise.
Kay, what you brought up
Yes.
is something I've heard quite a few times. Women have a reaction to me saying that I'm the one that traveled and I'm the one that had the back injury. So when you said it, I thought, oh my God, I forgot about that. I'm glad she said it out loud, because once you understand the circumstances, and really, I wasn't feeling disgruntled about it. I was feeling free and so happy to travel and to break free of what I'd been doing for 5 years. And, you know, for people that work in retail, you know, the peak times are Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, you know, then you've got Christmas, Easter, all these big peak times. You can't go anywhere because you are locked in to having to set up all these massive displays prior to these massive retail money-making days. So it was like I felt such a sense of freedom, because I'd been feeling quite suffocated by the pressure of all that every single year. I was like, oh my God, I am free. Oh, you know, and the fact that I could travel and get right away from it all was exhilarating.
That is so lovely. So, you know, to kind of even put this in astrological terms for folks, you know, sometimes people will come to me and I'll see the chart of their person and then them, and I'll be looking at a chart of a woman who has the sun in a masculine sign and Mars sitting with her sun and lots of masculine placements. And I'll look at the chart of the man and it'll be the opposite. He's got the sun in a feminine sign. He's got Venus sitting on top of his sun. And between the two of them, there's all kinds of confusion because he's far more receptive and she's far more active. And the two of them feel like they're doing it wrong some kind of way. And I just have to say, no, just be yourself. Like, if this is what feels good to y'all, then do what feels good to you two. The script is not meant to be followed. It's meant to be, you know, like you can put it aside and live according to your own personal design for you. And I think that's what the self-love that we talked about earlier really gets people, is that permission slip to follow where the love leads for them.
Yeah.
Agnes, you've been a treat. My goodness. I wish we had all day, every day, and I could just have you back for a whole workshop. But since we can't do that because you're busy, I'm busy, I need to know, people who are listening who are like, okay, yeah, she's my coach, I need to work with her. How do they find you?
If you just go to my website, it's just myname.com, and you can find everything there, or you can just go to YouTube. There's lots of stuff for free. Just put my name into YouTube and then put a topic. Like if you want, say, specific person like we're talking about today, just put that keyword in and then you'll see all the videos. There's lots of interviews, there's success story interviews about people that manifested a specific person. And most of those, well, I would say all, if I remember correctly, have got a self-love aspect to manifesting a specific person. So you will hear how they did it. They go through step by step. And I think when you learn from people that are on your, it's not like I'm an expert and you're just a lowly person. Everybody's walking this path. So if we share as ordinary people just helping each other, I think it's much easier to absorb than, you know, this master or expert or whatever. Look, I've had 5 relationships. I've had my butt kicked in so many different ways, with third parties, with my ex-husband being bisexual and I didn't know when I married him, with one of my partners told me he was going away to see his family, and then he got married and he didn't tell dramas in regards to relationships. So, you know, my experience is a whole bunch of real difficulty, and this relationship is the one that I think has been the smoothest, the easiest, and the most compatible because of the work that happened over the years with those other relationships. So, if you're struggling today and you're listening to this and you're brokenhearted or you feel really abandoned, you're not stuck there forever. You don't have to suffer in that forever. You just got to know what to do. And the self-love is the golden nugget. You have to do that. That's where all the most concentrated, most important, the SP meditations, it's not in try this drink of water, do this, do that. None of those things really at the end of the day are doing the deeper work. You must deal with your childhood. You must deal with your lack of self-love, and you must look after yourself in this here and now as you would expect to look after someone that you really love. So if you can deal with all of that and just a little bit at a time, 1% a day, you'll get to 100%. And you will get there and you will feel so different. You will feel so much happier in your own skin. You will feel confident. You won't be afraid of, some other woman being better than you, or some guy being better than you, or someone having more of this than you, or whatever. You couldn't care less. You're confident where you are. You're secure where you are. You don't compare yourself to other people. And you just bring out the very best of you, and that's enough. And you are satisfied and content with that. And then when you're in that, your SP just finds you attractive because you're not in this dissatisfaction all the time. You've learned to regulate yourself and you've learned to nurture yourself, and that comes out in your energy. And it's wonderful to be around. People get really attracted to it. So yeah, there's lots of stuff there for free on the YouTube channel. Just put specific person in. It'll bring up the free meditations. It'll bring up, there's 3 free courses. And there's a whole bunch of discussions. One with Patty Stanger, who was the millionaire matchmaker in the US. Also, that show was in the UK. She's done a course with me. She's also done her success story. It's not a secret. She did work with me. She shares her story of working with me, so I'm not breaking her anonymity. Her whole interview is there. It doesn't matter whether you're 60 or 25. We all have to do the same work. And it's just getting inspired. Get inspired with the success stories. Get inspired with having a good self-love routine. I think 4 days a week is enough. People try and accelerate and do 7 days. It's like people that join the gym on the 1st of January for the New Year's Eve resolution. And then by, mid-February, they've fallen off the wagon. 4 days a week, be consistent. Turtle wins the race, not the rabbit. So if you can do that, you will easily get there. You will easily get there.
I am so glad that you said yes to this interview, Agnes. It has been a treat. Thank you. You've really gifted us with something powerful and special today. For everyone who's listening, you'll find this in the Creator Conference playlist. If you're joining a little late, you can certainly listen back. It's going to remain here on YouTube. And links to everything Agnes has referenced here today will be below this video in the description box. So if you're ready to work with her and take that next step, all you got to do, it's one click away. All right. Thank you, Agnes. Treat to be here. Take great care, everyone. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next 2 interviews during Creator Conference. We'll be joined by Return to One Quantum Healing, and they'll talk about manifestation of health and well-being, mental health and well-being using the superconscious interface machine. And we'll also talk to Charlotte of Happy Twins 1111 about counterintuitive pieces of manifestation that nobody really talks about.